Before there was Woodbiond City, there was only a lake. It rested in a quiet valley surrounded by forests and hills. For countless ages, the water reflected nothing but clouds, stars, and wildlife. No roads crossed the land. No buildings stood upon its shores. Then came humanity. A small tribe of wanderers discovered the lake while searching for a place to survive. They found fertile soil, fresh water, fish, and forests rich with game. They built a handful of shelters along the shoreline and lit campfires beneath the stars. They stayed. The camp became a village. The village became a town. The town became a city. Generations passed. Farmers cultivated fields across the valley. Merchants traded goods from distant lands. Stone roads connected growing districts. Libraries preserved knowledge. Artists painted the lake. Families released lanterns during the Festival of Reflection. The city became known as Woodbiond. For centuries, prosperity followed. Walls were built. Watchtowers rose. Markets flourished. Universities expanded. Trade routes stretched across distant lands. Woodbiond became the undisputed heart of the valley and one of the most respected cities in the known world. Its citizens believed their future would only become brighter. Then came the first great darkness. Far beyond the civilized world lived barbarian tribes. For generations, they had heard stories of Woodbond's wealth. They imagined overflowing markets, magnificent buildings, and citizens living lives they could scarcely comprehend. Envy spread among the tribes. Eventually, a powerful warlord named Korath united them beneath a single banner. His promise was simple. Woodbiond would belong to them. The First Barbarian War began without warning. Smoke appeared on the horizon. Outer villages vanished. Refugees flooded into the city. The gates closed. The siege began. For months, barbarian campfires surrounded Woodbiond. Their numbers seemed endless. Supplies grew scarce. Fear spread through every district. Then the Western Wall fell. The barbarians poured into the city. The battle that followed became legend. Homes burned. Market squares became battlefields. The lake reflected flames instead of lanterns. Citizens who had never carried weapons suddenly fought for survival. Blacksmiths defended workshops. Dock workers protected the waterfront. Merchants stood atop barricades. Teachers carried spears. For days, the city teetered on the edge of destruction. Yet Woodbiond refused to surrender. Street by street, building by building, the defenders fought back. A massive counterattack eventually drove the invaders from the city. Korath's dream died beneath Woodbond's walls. The city survived, but it emerged forever changed. Thousands were dead. Entire districts lay in ruins. The western countryside had been devastated. The people mourned. Then they rebuilt, as they always would. Centuries passed. The scars faded. The Renaissance arrived. Knowledge flourished. Artists, scientists, and engineers transformed the city. Trade expanded beyond anything previous generations had imagined. Wealth poured into Woodbiond from every corner of the world. Then industry arrived. Factories rose across the valley. Railways crossed the countryside. Steam engines transformed transportation. The city entered an age of unprecedented growth. Skylines expanded. The population exploded. Woodbiond became richer than ever before. Then history repeated itself. The barbarians returned. The descendants of Korath had not forgotten. Unlike their ancestors, they spent generations preparing. They studied Woodbiond. They learned from past failures. When they finally attacked, they did so with terrifying efficiency. The Second Barbarian War eclipsed the first in every way. Entire regions became battlefields. Factories were converted into fortresses. Railways transported soldiers instead of cargo. The city burned once again. Districts fell. Thousands died. For a time, defeat seemed inevitable. Then innovation changed everything. Engineers developed new technologies. Scientists created new defenses. Factories shifted entirely toward military production. The Great Industrial Counteroffensive began. The war became a battle not only of armies, but of industry itself. Every factory, every workshop, every engineer, every citizen contributed. Slowly, the tide turned. District after district was reclaimed. The barbarians were pushed back. Eventually, they were defeated. Again, Woodbiond survived again. But after 2 devastating wars, the people wanted something different. They wanted peace. They wanted joy. They wanted life. The city entered its recreation age. Casinos appeared along the waterfront. Hotels stretched across entertainment districts. Concert halls, restaurants, theaters, and nightlife transformed the city. The lake reflected dazzling lights every evening. The metropolitan era followed. Skyscrapers began dominating the skyline. Then came the digital era. Computers connected society. Technology transformed daily life. Woodbiond became one of the most advanced cities on Earth. Then came the neon era, the greatest age in the city's history. At night, the skyline glowed like a second constellation. Millions of lights reflected across the lake. Massive neon towers stretched into the clouds. Flying advertisements crossed the sky. Entertainment districts never slept. The casinos became legendary. Visitors traveled from around the world hoping to experience Woodbind's nightlife. The city seemed unstoppable. Yet beyond the horizon, something was changing. The descendants of the barbarians still existed. At first, their threats seemed harmless. A speech here, a warning there. Most people ignored them. The casinos remained packed. The streets remained crowded. The city continued growing. Then the threats increased. Year after year, the warnings became more serious. Intelligence agencies reported massive weapons programs. Military activity increased. Governments grew concerned. Citizens grew uneasy. This period became known as the Barbarian Threat Era. Life continued. People still worked, still laughed, still visited casinos, still released lanterns upon the lake. Yet a shadow hung over everything. No one knew whether another war was coming. Many hoped the threats were empty. They were wrong. The end arrived on a clear day. Without warning, the sky flashed. A brilliant white light appeared above the city. For a single moment, time seemed frozen. Then came the mushroom cloud. Then another. Then another. Across the world, giant pillars of fire rose toward the heavens. The barbarians had unleashed weapons beyond imagination. Entire nations vanished. Cities disappeared. Governments collapsed. The neon era ended beneath fire. The first civilization ended beneath fire. Humanity believed the world itself had ended. When the smoke finally cleared, only ruins remained. The skyline was gone. The casinos were gone. The hotels were gone. Only broken skeletons of buildings remained around the lake. The wasteland era had begun. For generations, survival became the only law. Scavengers explored ruined skyscrapers searching for supplies. Former casinos became settlements. Old hotels became fortified strongholds. Broken highways became dangerous trade routes. Flickering Nuka-Cola signs still stood among the ruins. Travelers carried sim packs and ammunition across the wastes. Some settlements prospered. Others vanished overnight. Raiders controlled entire regions. Mercenaries protected caravans. Treasure hunters searched ancient ruins for forgotten technology. Many citizens of the wasteland viewed old Woodbiond as little more than a myth. Yet even during humanity's darkest age, the lake remained. The water still reflected the stars. The Festival of Reflection survived in small communities. Lanterns still drifted across the lake. The memory of the city refused to die. Slowly, civilization returned. Farms appeared. Markets returned. Trade routes formed. Communities united. The Reclamation era became the Restoration era. The Restoration era became the Renewal era. Humanity stopped merely surviving. It began rebuilding. The New Dawn era followed. A second civilization emerged from the ashes. Unlike the first, this civilization remembered the cataclysm. Every child learned the story of the wars. Every citizen understood the dangers of hatred and unchecked power. Technology advanced carefully. Cities were designed alongside nature. Woodbiond flourished once more. Universities returned. Research expanded. A renaissance of humanity began. A second golden age followed. The skyline rose again, not as a copy of the old city, but as something wiser, something better. Humanity eventually entered the Harmony era. Technology and nature existed together. The scars of the old world slowly faded. Then humanity looked toward the stars. Orbital stations appeared. Space exploration accelerated. Scientific breakthroughs transformed civilization. Woodbiond became one of Earth's greatest centers of spaceflight. The stellar era had begun. Soon, humanity established settlements beyond Earth. Interplanetary travel became routine. The descendants of the first fishermen beside the lake now traveled between worlds. Woodbiond entered the Ascension era. Humanity had survived 2 barbarian wars. It had survived the Cataclysm. It had survived the Wasteland. It had survived the end of civilization itself. And somehow, against every expectation, it had reached the stars. And as long as the lake remained, Woodbiond City endured. Because Woodbond's greatest strength was never its wealth, never its armies, never its technology. Its greatest strength was its refusal to die. Every time history knocked it down, Woodbiond stood back up. And beneath the stars, beside the same ancient waters where the first campfire once burned, the city of the Eternal Lake continued to shine.